Welcome to the Dudes Talking Manga. I'm Jimmy Nuts, and we are talking about Sabaody Archipelago. If I'm mispronouncing that, I'm sorry. I'm terrible at pronunciations, but we just finished up Thriller Bark, and I really loved it. I thought it had some great character moments and just a teeny bit of bigger things happening outside, but it was very stylized, very good to read in October. But with this new arc, I was not sure where we were going to be going. I thought it would be Fishman Island. That's clearly not happening, but we have approached the red line, and to say that a lot is going on is an understatement, an absolute criminal understatement, because everything feels like it's happening right now, and I'm very excited to talk about it. This is going to be chapters 490 to 502, and that is volumes, just a tail end of 50 and then into 51. And it's funny because I do check out the covers, and I know people say, don't, they're spoilers, but like, there's a lot of new people on this cover, so I knew that one, I was going to be terrified of pronouncing a lot of it, but also that things were about to go down. So we get to this formation of islands, which, by the way, I love how the geography is set out here, and you end up seeing that there's different like groves and different things have different not assets or themes, but like, you know, there's different laws to the land. There's amusement parks, there's lawlessness. There's a whole lot going on here, and I really like the way it was set up and kind of explained. Just when I think it's going to be silly and there's these bubbles and amusement parks, we find out that there's also well, there's a lot of terrible stuff happening here. It seems like there's racism happening here, human trafficking, classism, but pretty much every bad thing that you could have in a group of humans seems to be happening right here on this island. Being on this new island, a lot of stuff's going down, a lot of new people, and we're feeling that the world is swelling, which is actually the chapter title of the last chapter I read, and I think it's just an appropriate way of looking at exactly how this arc is kicking off. The world is swelling, and you see it actually on this island as all of these rookie pirates, all these up-and-comers are coming together into this one area where all these branches have led to. I've never really thought about it, but it makes sense there would be multiple starting points and then converging to the red line here at Archipelago and near the Navy headquarters. It's just really cool to think about. I almost think about like the Pokemon starting trainers, how everyone starts out and then they run into each other like down the line. It kind of has that feel for it. And then whenever you end up hearing that some of these pirates are just as dangerous as Luffy, but even more dangerous than Luffy, it's like, wow, it is a big world out there. And we have a lot of places to see and a lot of people to meet. And they all have their own like areas of where they're from. I love this sense of like almost like a battle royale about to go down. It's very welcomed. I'm not going to go over every single pirate's name, and I'm not going to try to pronounce all of them and talk about each individual one. It's just that on the array of them, they all seem very, very cool, and I'm very curious about the ones that are just as powerful as Luffy. And also, like, you know, what made these people go out other than just obviously Roger? Like, I would like to know more backstories. And I imagine that the ones that I need to remember, the ones I need to talk about, will bubble up to the top by the end of this arc. At least that's what I'm expecting. But the one thing that I've learned through this arc, and it has kind of dawned on me of why we love Monkey D. Luffy so much. And it's not just the fact that, you know, he's motivational, he's carefree, he's motivated, he's hilarious. No, it's none of that. It's actually that Luffy knows exactly when someone does need to be punched in the face. Like, some people that walk through life just deserving the 5-knuckle shuffle. Just, you know, hitting them with the left so many times they're begging for the right type of deal. And Luffy knows how to identify that. And I can't think of anyone that deserves to be punched in the mouth more than Charlos. These celestial people, these like almost like royalty walking around, the celestial gods or whatever, I hate them so much. and this is where we're seeing the human trafficking, the classism and the racism and all of this stuff, and this royalty walking around, and the fact that they are descendants of basically the rulers of this kingdom, and they're the celestial dragons. I said gods, they're celestial dragons, and you know, they're just completely out of pocket. They're out of control. Oh, God, I hate them so much. And whenever Charlos is actually riding a human being, I mean, how despicable can it be? One Piece is lighthearted, it's fun, but it has clearly had some very serious moments, and maybe none more serious than what we're dealing with right now at the beginning of Sabaody. And Charlos is not the only one that sucks. Also, Roswald, I think it's Roswald and Shalria, were the other two named. They were terrible as well. And in their scene, we actually see one of the slave collars explode. And it's like, okay, this is like just legit downright brutal. It's not even like, you know, oh, well, that's at least a cool special effect. It's just like really depraved stuff. And for where I left off in number 51 at the last chapter with Luffy having enough, because we see Hachi, who I'm going to talk about in a second, get his brains basically blown out. And Luffy, about to happen again, because he's like, hey, listen, it's my fault. I said that, I said not to do anything even if someone gets shot, because it does happen. And Luffy's just like, you know what? I find you annoying, Charlos. This is why we love Luffy, because I think we wish there was a Luffy around sometimes in our lives, or we were like Luffy and we knew who to punch in the face. Hachi from Arlong Park. I kind of forgot who he was. I knew it had to be from Arlong because that's where the fisherman first got introduced, as people reminded me whenever I forgot that in like 2 arcs ago. But I was happy to see him. And I think one of the things that Oda did extremely well in these first 2 volumes here for me was being able to introduce Hachi back into the story and then reframe how we feel about him and actually start building empathy. And it wasn't just putting him in like a dire situation of him trying to save Kami, the mermaid, but also having him just be funny and coming at it from a different angle, being apologetic. He also talks about these octopus fritters that he learned the recipe from like some legendary chef. And I'm very curious, like, will we ever see that legendary chef? I hope so. But him kind of like introducing the crew to the surroundings, right? And he's in his home area, at least, kind of. And he knows the lay of the land. Like, he's helping us out. So it slowly builds like a rapport, even though we should dislike him from almost killing Zoro way back in the day. This was extremely well done. To cap it all off, we see him basically get executed in the street in front of Luffy, and that's what led to the moment that I just talked about. I will say this: I'm not under any illusions that Hachi's actually dead, because this is One Piece, and I will say that does take away a bit of the weight, but point taken and point proven, it still ends up paying off in this moment, and I was just fired up to come up here and talk about that piece. But Hachi being reintroduced, really nice. I love Oda's recycling of characters and then reframing them in our eyes. I just wish in a moment like this that maybe Hachi would stay dead, as sad as that sounds. It's pretty clear that history is going to play a big role in this arc and probably the saga as well. And it's played a big role in the other arcs in the series as well. But at the beginning, we end up meeting Duval, Iron Mask Duval, or whatever his name was. And it ends up being the Sanji lookalike that's on the wanted posters, which I'll just say it now. I thought that was I just thought it was okay. Like, I thought it was a little bit cheesy. I kind of liked where it ended up with Sanji rearranging his face, essentially, and then him becoming part of the team. And then we have the flying fish and whatever. I thought that was fine. At first, I was wondering who Duval would be. And then whenever he calls out Sanji, I'm like, oh my God, we're going to get some stuff from Sanji's past, which I'm very curious about. And it just ends up being a little bit of a gag, right? And that was just fine. I didn't think it was the greatest thing. But whenever we're seeing this, Brooke is saying, oh my gosh, it must be somebody that we have history with. And then he's like, oh, humans have history. Isn't that strange? And I just latched on to that little line because it just felt, I'm not going to say out of place, but it's felt significant to me for some reason. And I think history is playing a big role in where we are, because we're talking about these celestial dragons whose, bloodline essentially took over the world government, whatever it was, 800 years ago or whatever. And then you have all of the terrible stuff with the fishmen and the mermaids and them being treated terribly and how they weren't even recognized because they weren't human. They were its, and that prejudice still exists today. So all this like generational history is actually mattering. And, for someone like Duval, his history with Sanji is completely non-physical in the fact that he had never met him and that he didn't know him, but he was affecting his life. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of these people who are being prejudiced against the fishmen. Most of these people maybe have never even seen fishmen in their life or not had any personal interaction with them, but their prejudice is affecting their lives, and they don't see that. And that is a very sad and dangerous thing. So I think history is going to play a big role here, clearly. And then we have a whole bunch to talk about when it comes to history, because we get some scenes with Garp, which, by the way, Garp just not being serious at all when Sengoku is trying to be just shows where Luffy gets it from. But we end up hearing Garp talk about, the government's taking on 2 legends at once. He's talking about the Dark King. Is it Rayleigh? I'm going to call him the Dark King, who was Roger's first hand. Roger's first hand showed up in these issues. What is going on? And not only that, but he is going on the slave block, being auctioned off. Garp knows about it. Garp wants to handle it, not tell Sengoku. And they have history. Because remember, Garp opposed Roger, and now we have Roger's first mate, and then we have Shakky or Shakky, I don't know how you say it, but her ripoff bar, which was really funny. You know, she's a part of this too. She has a history. She stopped being a pirate. I want to know why she stopped being a pirate. Is it because Roger was killed? Is that it? Oh, and by the way, Dark King just happens to also have the hockey. What? Not to mention that Luffy just so happens in this arc to also use that ability, or at least it would seem to be. I am assuming that it is, or that it would be Mantra. And I'm still thinking that Mantra and hockey are probably related somehow. I'm wondering if they're part of a power tree, maybe similar to the Devil Fruit powers, and they're like over here in their own thing. But Luffy did something to that bull at the beginning of this arc and kind of just willed it not to attack, right? And kind of knocked it over. So what's going on here? And did Luffy learn this when he fought Enel back in Skypiea? Because he's been able to kind of take people's like abilities, right? He's a very fast learner and he can adapt. So that's my question. I mean, there's just so much going on. And then you see this guy who's being sold as a slave, which, by the way, if he has this power, I assume that he's kind of like letting himself be captured and sold. Am I wrong about that? I feel like he could walk out at any moment he wants. So why is he there? Why is he okay with this? Or am I missing something? And then maybe he's actually in like the Sea Prism Stone and he can't. I don't know. I'm not sure, guys. I just know that there's a whole lot of stuff about to go down. And all of it really bases off the history of the Grand Line. And that's kind of just an overview of what I got out of these like 12 or 13 chapters. I am losing it. It seems like the power levels are all over the place with all these new people. And the fact that the fact that Dark King or Rayleigh is 100 times stronger than Luffy. Is he really? Is that real? Because that's insane. And let's not also forget that the Thousand Sunny did the most OP thing in the world, and that is go in reverse as a ship. Very cute, Oda. Very cute. The fact that it was so effective was hilarious. And the cannon coming out of the front. I mean, the Sunny continues to impress. Thank the Lord for Franky. He is fantastic. And just overall, a good showing for the Straw Hats here. Also, we ended up having Brooks' Lullaby Parry, which was very neat. So this arc just started out in a way where I really wasn't sure where it was going, and I wasn't loving it like the very first few chapters, so I didn't come up here until I got more under my belt because I could tell that Oda was taking a little bit longer to set up things. And then you just throw in all these themes of like slavery and classism and all of this. And it's very intense, but so far, Oda has me captivated and has me very interested in this, and I can't wait to see where this goes. I have no idea. The swelling of the world, when does it stop? When does it hit its perimeter? Does it explode? Does it overpour? What's happening? We're so close to the Navy base. And also, Ace is about to be executed. And if it happens, Whitebeard will go to war with the world government. Does that mean Luffy would side with Whitebeard? We saw Shanks talking to him. I don't know. I got to go figure out what's happening in One Piece now. I have volume 52 and 53 left, so I'm going to try to read all of 52 before I come back, and then I'll do a last part for 53. Thanks for being here and checking this out. I'll be back whenever I finish out 52. I'm back for chapters 503 to 512, which covers all of volume 52. Another amazing cover to what has to be the most frustrating and annoying issue of One Piece, volume of One Piece I have ever read. And there is a plenty of things I like, but I came away from this just feeling very annoyed with Oda at the moment. And that is because we get a whole bunch of information. And maybe not a whole bunch of information, but we get some information about Ray, which is the Dark King or whatever that we talked about, the first mate of Roger. And we hear about Roger's end. Roger's end did not come because he was caught. It came because he gave himself up. He had a terminal illness. That terminal illness was being treated by a Dr. Crocus from the lighthouse, which we know from the past. So kind of reaffirming these things. Another mention of Laboon. That's great. And they went and they conquered the seas. I like that. I like the fact that we find out that Ray was in that prison and that slave, he was merchandise, which is really gross, but that's how they referred to him, because he wanted to get caught so then he could be sold to someone, steal their money, and then get back into the casino. All that's good, fine and dandy. Ray has an amazing moment towards the end here where Zoro is about to get got and he interferes and says, do not ruin these seeds before they sprout. Their era is just beginning. It seems like he was able to read Hachi's mind and be able to tell what happened. We're talking about the hockey here. We're talking about this amazing ability of being able to just knock out the guards like that. All this, right? But he does something that I find to be very annoying. He says, hey, Luffy, never mind. I talked to Shanks. He spoke very kindly of you, which was very heartwarming. And he says, but I shouldn't tell you anything Shanks hasn't told you already. I should quit babbling on. It's like, my dude, that is literally what I want you to do. When you bring up someone like Roger, when you bring up something like Shanks, I mean, you're giving us some new information, but also a lot of this information that we've kind of been able to put together. Like, for instance, the fact that he mentions that they had Shanks and Buggy as apprentices, and they were there, or at least Shanks was definitely there whenever Roger was executed. We know this. So it's just reaffirming. It's kind of signposting, like, hey, just in case you missed it, right? But Roger giving himself up as new information. But he says, I won't babble on. My dude, that's what we want you to do. And then Robin has this excellent moment where, her being one of my favorite characters, she does what I want her to do, what I want this entire crew to do. And she says, wait, hold on. You're very important. You have a past with Roger D. What is the will of D? Because the Poneglyphs said that they were transcribed by him, and I want to know about this world history. 900 years ago, 100 years went missing, whatever. And he says, oh, yeah. Ray says, yeah, I know all about that, actually. We know everything that happened in that time period. And actually, Roger wasn't able to transcribe this. He actually heard all of the voices in the world, or something to this effect. I'm paraphrasing. Which, like, what's that all about? That's a new piece of information. I welcome that. But he says, yeah, I know all this history. But Robin, you don't want to know, because if I tell you right now, you will not be able to do anything about it. Essentially saying that, like, yeah, you'll know, but you'll just be able to stare at it. There's nothing much you can do. But if you continue on your journey, you will find out. I hate this, and I hate this for two reasons. And when I say that I hate this, I don't mean that I'm not enjoying One Piece anymore. I'm just saying that, like, this drove me crazy. Because Robin says, okay, you're right. Never mind. I'll just wait. It's Robin's life goal. And there is no guarantee that she should be able to make it out all of this alive. They are in an extremely dire and dangerous situation. Tomorrow should not be guaranteed. Now, it's One Piece, so she's safe, right? Most of the time, 99% of the time, people just aren't going to die in this series. I've come to that conclusion, and I'm fine with that. And I know there's going to be exceptions down the road. I'm sure someone's going to die, and it's going to be this big emotional thing. But, like, in the reality of which they live in, Robin should not be 100% confident that she's going to make it through this entire trip, that she could make it to tomorrow or next year or the year after that, or to the new world. And for her to be like, yeah, you know what? You're right. Even though you could tell me everything that I've ever wanted to know right now, but I wouldn't be able to do anything about it. You're right. I don't want to. I feel like, one, it takes out the stakes a little bit to know that, well, Robin's safe. And hey, if I'm wrong, I'll eat my words. I'll be happy. But it pretty much tells me that Robin's making it to the end of this thing, right? There's no way not. And I don't know. It's just like, it's everything you've ever wanted, and it's right here. And, like, you didn't have to offer it to us. Oh, man. And then you have the Luffy thing where, like, Usopp's like, what about the One Piece? Is it really on the last island? And Luffy says, I don't want to know. If you tell this, it ruins all the fun, and these people are putting this out on the line, their lives on the line for this thing. I don't want to know, or I'll never go on another adventure again. And I understand what he's saying. It's about the journey, not so much the destination. He wants to keep it shrouded in mystery. So I understand that parallel between Robin's story, but just the fact that, like, it's dangled out in front of us, and I think it's Oda just giving us a signpost of, like, don't forget these very important things and these important mysteries, and, like, here's a little bit of a tidbit to keep you going. I get it. So, like, it's whatever, guys. Like, I still love One Piece, obviously, but this moment just really annoyed me. I hate that. I hate the carrot being dangled, and we get some of that new information in here, but it's not crazy. I'm not hot about it, obviously. There's some really cool stuff in this volume, though. I mean, there's a lot of really good action. Like I said, Ray actually defending Zoro was amazing. I thought that was really cool. And then we see the fact that, there's a lot of really important people coming in, and Kizaru, I think is his name, is coming into the scene riding on a cannonball. Kizaru's trying to meet up with someone named Sentomaru, who is Vegapunk's bodyguard. And even though we actually don't realize it till the end of the volume, we're seeing Dr. Vegapunk's creations right in front of us. PX4, PX1. These are like clones, but still like human versions of Bible Boy Bart Kuma. Old Bible Boy Bart is back. And then he actually shows up at the end and then asks the $1 million question, Zoro, where would you like to go on vacation to? Or whatever. Like, where would you go if you could go anywhere in the world? And then, Zoro's gone. So that's insane. Guys, where do these people go? It's like Tyrion asking Game of Thrones, like, where do whores go? Well, where do our characters go when Bible Boy Kuma gets a hold of them? I am very curious. I don't think he's gone forever, but I'm certainly worried about him. And also seeing that he still had a lot of the damage from his sacrifice in the last arc was really cool from Thriller Bark. I'm glad to see that continuity playing, and that stuff was obviously really good. There's all kind of weird stuff, by the way, that was going on between Kizaru and Captain Hawkins. And Captain Hawkins is doing like this tarot card thing, and he's like, I don't die today, 0% chance. He's like calculating all this stuff. Out of all of like the new pirates that we've met, I think Captain Hawkins is the one that I'm most interested in, though I really did like Law and Eustace standing with Luffy against the Navy, and you have these three people who are working together that one day will be enemies. I thought that their abilities were cool. One thing I will say is I'm not surprised anymore when people have devil fruit powers. It's more so just like, okay, what's it called and what's it do? Okay, got it. Like in the story, it feels like every time someone does a devil fruit thing, like it'll cut to Zoro's face. It'll be like, he has a devil fruit power? And it's like, bro, everyone's had a devil fruit power at this point. Like, come on, it's okay. We get it. These people are super duper powerful. There's no doubt about it. But we probably shouldn't be shocked that there's a bunch of devil fruit users here. One other thing I wanted to note is that the bodyguard, Sentomaru, is not a devil fruit user and very, very powerful. And I'm not sure I totally understand exactly what's going on there. I don't think I'm meant to at this point yet. I'm sure in the next volume it'll pop up. But yeah, overall, a lot of things happening, a lot of powerful people going. And this is a very action-heavy one, which is probably better in the anime than it is in the manga, so I need to go and watch these episodes of the anime. But overall, I mean, it's some cool stuff. I really liked all the last-ditch efforts, the valiant efforts that our teams are making to kind of defend against an admiral and a warlord of the sea. Like, the stakes have been drastically increased here. And to see Luffy make the admission, like, everyone needs to run and, like, kind of take care of themselves because we can't win this fight. I don't think we've ever seen Luffy kind of say that before. And that's major because one of the biggest things that we hear in this volume is the fact that the new world, this is coming out of Ray's mouth, the new world is something that we can't even fathom. Like, we can't fathom just how ridiculous it is and how powerful the enemies are. So there's going to be some major character level ups, which we have seen in the last few arcs. But I think for the Straw Hat crew, there's going to be a little bit more. I have speculated that Vegapunk will maybe somehow be a part of the enhancement of Luffy, whether it's some wild experiments on him or Luffy just is able to figure out powers from him or something. I don't know. That's just like a half-cooked theory that I have going on in my brain. But Hawkins is the one that I'm kind of paying attention to. And I guess we'll see how this all wraps up and exactly how they're going to get away. I had this feeling in Water 7 that the crew is going to be captured and then taken to Impel Down because we had heard Crocodile was there. And I think I'm going to take that prediction that was wrong then and play it now after this volume. And I kind of feel like the Straw Hats may end up like in Impel Down because we know that Ace is about to be executed. We know Crocodile's there. A lot of weird stuff going on there. So it's a central place. I feel like what's going to happen is we're going to get captured at some point and be taken there. Or at least some of the crew, and then we go on like a recon mission. Like maybe that's where Zoro is, and then we'll go on a recon mission to save him, plus get Ace back or something like that. But yeah, big action, really annoying information withheld from us, and I guess Robin's just cool to have like her little trip and not have her entire life's goal just given to her on a silver platter. I understand maybe journey before destination. It worries me though. Is One Piece, and by the way, it's not the One Piece, that's the other thing. At least I don't think. Like Luffy kind of refers to it as One Piece, like this thing. But is is One Piece going to be the friends we made along the way? I certainly hope not. Oh, and Doflamingo was mentioned very briefly when talking to Disco. Very excited. Love Doflamingo. Would love to see him again. So I think that's about it. I know there's some other little things that happen, like Usopp taking out one of the celestial dragons on accident. And I'm like, they've taken out another one. I thought that was really funny. But good volume, lots of action, a lot of names and a lot of things to remember. And then we got just a smidge information about Shanks and Roger, which was really cool. The Roger stuff was very cool. I shouldn't underplay it. The Roger stuff was actually really dope. It just wasn't enough for me right now. But I'm going to go finish this up. There's only one more volume left, and that's volume 53. And then I will be done with this arc, Sabaody Archipelago, which I will never have to pronounce again, I hope, because I'm pretty sure I'm saying it wrong. But I'll see you again as soon as I finish volume 53. Okay, so we're back with another update, and this one is a bit awkward. Listen, we do things live here, okay? This is like real in-time reactions, and I have to admit that I did not realize when I cut out the last part of this video at chapter 512 that I only had one chapter remaining in this arc. I thought that the rest of this arc, the ending, was all of volume 53. So when I sat down to do my reading, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be sitting here reading this volume for an hour or so. I looked it up and I'm like, I have one chapter left. How awkward is that? But whatever. We're here. And if there's ever been a chapter, like one chapter to do by itself, it has to be this one. This isn't going to be an exceptionally long part of this video, but what in the world is going on? Zoro is not the only person that has been zapped away by Bible Boy Bart Kuma. No. And it's not just Brook who ends up sacrificing himself. Thank you very much, Brook. You're awesome. Great crewmate. No. It's literally all of the Straw Hats. All of the Straw Hats, one by one, are being disappeared. And Luffy is sitting there just throwing himself on the ground, screaming like, I could not save them. And it is this very visceral disappointment for Luffy and this sad, weighted reality that is on top of him. And it's a very compelling moment for Luffy's character. And I think that this is actually, I'm sad, but this is going to be very fascinating to see where everyone is, because I was thinking how this was going to go is that Zoro has disappeared. I said in the last part, he's probably alive, whatever. And then we remember that Perona has been, zapped away. And then we actually get mention of Perona here. So I was thinking, okay, Brooks got zapped. Maybe Chopper gets zapped, and we're going to have the group over here, which I was thinking maybe they're on the other side of the island. Maybe they're in some weird place. I'm not sure where they're at, but this is how we're going to end up splitting up the crew, and then at the end of this arc, they'll get away from Kuma, and then they'll go rescue them. That's what I'm thinking, right? But that's not the case at all. They're all gone. And then at the very end, Luffy himself is disappeared. And that means something very significant is that we have this entire time period of where the story could continue on in this island without the Straw Hats in the story. They're not the central piece. And it also means most likely we are going to see where old Bart Boy is sending these people. At least some of them. Is it all the same place? How does that work? I don't know. I really don't know. And another thing that's very odd is it feels like, and I could be wrong, it feels like there's a possible other motivation behind Kuma. He seems very mysterious. He's not a man of many words. But wouldn't the government rather him murder the Straw Hats or capture them and bring them to Impel Down so they can just execute the whole family, right? They can get Ace and Luffy. So for me, it's one of two things. It's either Kuma has something else kind of going on, or he thinks that he is killing them by using his power. Maybe he doesn't know where his power sends them. Maybe he just thinks they get zapped and he's decided that they go wherever they wanted to go. Maybe he doesn't know. Or maybe he has set up places for them to go, and we're going to jump into the crew's head and they're going to be in prison cells. I don't think that's the case, but it could be. This is a wild end to Sabaody. This is this is incredible. And I was able to look up. So Sabaody ends here at 513, and then we get into Amazon Lily. So I'm assuming Amazon Lily is where the next part of the story will take place. And I'm just curious, is it going to be through a solo POV? Is it even going to feature the Straw Hats? That's the question. I wish Ray would have been a little bit more effective. Ray is almost admitting that he's lost a step, even though, you know, he's super duper old. But I was still kind of expecting with the hockey that he would be able to save our crew, but he wasn't. But with how much he knows and talking about eras and stuff, is there a chance that Ray, and remember, he has history with all these people. Is there a chance that Ray is okay with this, wherever they're being sent? Is he aware of where Bible Board Bart Kuma is sending these people? This is very shocking. This is one of the very few moments, I mean, that feels genuinely shocking. I had to kind of take back. Not to mention the fact that we still know that Whitebeard might be going to war with the government over Ace's execution, and where does that put the Straw Hats? Are they on the Whitebeard side? What is Amazon Lily? That's another thing that we need to know. Whew, what an end. You know, I did mention my last part that I had, you know, that moment with the Robin information and kind of the dangling of the fruit. I just don't think it was really needed. It would have been better for Ray to just simply say, I'm not going to tell you. You have to find out by yourself, instead of giving Robin the agency to say, you know, whatever. I'm not going to harp on that because I like this arc. I love parts of this arc quite a bit. All the new players that are here, that are out in the world, and kind of really recontextualizing what the Grand Line is, and what this Age of Pirates is, and that there's other people out there that are like Luffy. Maybe don't have the same values as Luffy, but they're out there and they're powerful and they have their own crews and their own ambitions. And those people are going to come back and they're going to pop up in the story. And at some point, they're probably going to be on the opposing side rather than teaming up with us. How is everyone going to handle the fact that the Straw Hats have just been absolutely eradicated? I think is the word that's used. What does that mean? Do the bounties clear then? Like, are people under the impression that the Straw Hats are dead now? Does anyone know where Bart Kuma people go? Like, I don't know. Woo, what an ending. What an ending. I am not going to wait very long, if at any time at all, to get into Amazon Lily. When I looked it up, it seems like it's actually a really short arc. It's like a volume and a half, a very small amount of chapters. I think I could probably get that done relatively soon. So you won't have to wait too long on that next video, because I need to get through. I got to see what's happening with the Straw. I mean, this is a cliffhanger. And before I close out this video, I want to ask, for those who were reading this back in the day, whenever it was coming out, or you watched the anime and you were waiting for the releases, was this like a really long cliffhanger? Like, how long did you have to wait till you found out the next thing? Because I'm dying to know, and I'm going to go find out as soon as I turn off this camera. But let me know down in the comments below. Folks, thanks for watching me react to Sabaody, and thanks for laughing at me, most likely, whenever you realized that I had split when there was one chapter left. Listen, whatever. Sometimes you mess up. I literally read the chapter, and usually I do some prep. I try to, you know, fancy myself up, but I said, you know what, whatever. We're just going to go up there and shoot the video because it's already a mess. It's already a mess. So, hey, thanks for being here on the journey. If you like this video, you can hit like. If you dislike, you can hit dislike. And if you loved it, think about subscribing to see me react to all of the other stuff that I got to go through in One Piece. I'm in the 500s, right? Chapter 500. So that means that I'm a little under halfway through. It feels like I've been on this journey for a long time, and I guess I still have a long way to go. Amazon Lily, what will that be about? We'll find out, and I will be back in my next video. I may, just may, maybe host a little bit of a long-form discussion around Sabaody and see if I can get the reactions from my other people who love One Piece as well. I have a bunch of people who actually caught up on the manga that I talked to, mainly Alan from the Library of Alexandria YouTube channel, and then, of course, our good old friend Murphy as well. So there might be a discussion about Sabaody at some point here on the channel, but other than that, I will be continuing these reading vlogs, and I hope that you'll join me in my adventures. But until we see you next time, here at Dudes Talking Manga, we just want to say we hope you're well, we hope you're safe, and we'll see you again real soon.